Hi, and welcome back to Reddit Confessions. What you're about to hear isn't advice. It's a warning, from someone who mistook silence for healing, and ended up uncovering a truth so loud it hasn't stopped echoing since. The door didn't slam. That's what I remember most. It just clicked shut, polite, quiet, final. And then there was only the sound of the wind chimes on the porch, and the fridge humming like it didn't just witness the collapse of my entire world. There was no kiss goodbye. No, I'll miss you. Only a post-it on the toaster, because apparently, the truth now comes in 3 by 3 inches. No contact for 7 days. I need to know if this marriage is still a we or just a you. Please don't reach out. She signed it with a heart. A heart. Like a breakup note written by a teenager. Like 7 years of marriage and 4 therapy sessions could be paused with a doodle. Her name is Trina. But that's not really important anymore. I didn't cry. Not right away. First, I opened the cabinets and realized she'd taken her favorite mug. Then her shampoo. Then my charger, which was technically hers anyway. Then I saw her wedding ring on top of a closed laptop, like some ironic monument. Then I cried. Not because she left. But because I actually thought I deserved it. That night, I made rice. Not because I was hungry, I wasn't, but because the instructions were simple. I needed something I could follow, something that would work out if I just did it right. Boil water. Add rice. Simmer. Wait. It still burned. And I sat on the floor in the kitchen, watching it boil over, thinking. If 7 days without me makes her feel better. What does that say about every day we had together? That was only hour 6 of her week of clarity. And already, the cracks started to bleed. What happened by day 2? Let's just say the silence was never empty. It was hiding everything. I wish I could tell you I did something noble with the silence. That I journaled. Meditated. Took long walks and rediscovered myself like some rom-com protagonist. But no. What I actually did on the second day was stand in the shower for 47 minutes without realizing the water had gone cold, thinking about the way she said, "we," less and less lately, as if she was slowly pulling her name off the lease of our life together. It wasn't just the absence of her voice. It was the absence of noise in general. She was the one who played music while cooking, who watched those crime documentaries with the volume too high, who left her Bluetooth speaker in the bathroom every morning. Now the house sounded like it was holding its breath. And it wasn't peaceful. It was eerie. Like the calm just before a storm slaps your house sideways. That morning, I opened our shared laptop. Not to snoop. Honestly. I just wanted to check a recipe, something dumb like banana bread, because her grandma once said baking was therapy. But the moment I opened the browser, it didn't load the banana bread page. It reopened a tab she must have left open. A search bar. Typed halfway through. What happens if you fall out of love but still live together? No question mark. Just a raw sentence hanging there, like a confession left unfinished. And I just sat there. Staring at it. Like it was some code I was too stupid to break earlier. All those, "I'm just tired," nights. The fake laughs. The way she'd get up to take phone calls in the laundry room. I suddenly realized, she hadn't just scheduled a week away to think. She'd been thinking for months. This was her soft exit. Her emotionally intelligent version of packing a parachute before pushing me off the plane. And I was still in denial. Still trying to decide whether to text her something funny. Something light. I didn't. I followed her rule. No contact. But the thought of her sitting somewhere, hotel, friend's house, his place. Not wondering how I was doing, that killed me. I tried to distract myself by going to the grocery store. Which was a mistake. Because just as I reached for a box of cereal, someone tapped my shoulder. A woman I didn't recognize, mid-30s maybe, with dark hair and the kind of confidence that comes from knowing something you shouldn't. "You're Elwood, right?" she asked. I blinked. Yeah. "You're Trina's husband." Still stunned, I nodded. She gave a tight smile, leaned in, and whispered, "You deserve better than what she's been doing." Then, like a ghost, she was gone. No name. No explanation. I didn't buy anything. I left my cart in the middle of the aisle and walked straight out into the parking lot, heart pounding like it was trying to warn me in Morse code. Who was that woman? How did she know me? And more importantly, what did she mean, what she's been doing? I didn't want to know. But I had to know. The week wasn't even halfway over. And already, the truth was starting to leak through the cracks she left behind. I didn't sleep that night. Not even for a minute. My brain kept replaying that stranger's voice like it was a broken voicemail I couldn't delete. "You deserve better than what she's been doing." I must have heard it in my head 50 times. Each repetition sounded heavier, darker, more final. I sat on the couch staring out the window into the dark street like a man waiting for a ghost to show up and hand him answers. Around 2:13 a.m., I opened my phone. Again, not to text Trina. I promised myself I wouldn't break her no contact rule, but out of instinct, I tapped open her public Instagram. No updates. Nothing new. But then I noticed something odd. Her follower count was off. I clicked into it. She'd followed a few new people recently, mostly lifestyle accounts, influencers, and one I didn't recognize at HeyHunter_. The name sounded harmless enough. But curiosity is like gravity, once you lean in, it's hard not to fall. His profile was public. That was his first mistake. Second mistake. Leaving her in the background of one of his photos. It was blurry, not staged or posed, just him holding a drink at a rooftop bar, smiling like an idiot, and there, behind his shoulder, sat Trina. Hair down. Laughing. Wearing the navy blue blouse she once told me made her feel too wifey. And her body language? Leaning toward him. Not just casually. Intimately. And here I was, in pajama pants, alone on a couch with last night's rice still in the sink. The caption under the photo? "Silence is golden. So is good company." That was the moment something broke in me. A crack I'd spent 2 days denying. A part of me still wanted to believe she was at her sister's. That she was journaling, meditating, doing yoga and questioning if she appreciated me enough. But that photo? That caption? It screamed what I was too afraid to say. She wasn't reflecting on our marriage. She was auditioning her exit. Still, I didn't call. I didn't message. I just closed the app and sat with it like a rotten fruit in my hand. The next morning, I decided I needed to get out of the house. I needed air, noise, anything. So I went to the park. The one near the water with the walking trail we used to go to every Sunday, before brunch became optional and talking became a chore. I found myself sitting on our old bench. The wood was more worn than I remembered. Everything looked a little older, a little sadder. Or maybe that was just me. As I sat there, mind spiraling, I noticed a kid, maybe 10 or 11, chasing a soccer ball down the hill. He tripped and fell hard, scraped his knees. His mom ran over, panicked. She hugged him and said, "You're okay. I'm here. I'm not going anywhere." I nearly lost it. Because I couldn't remember the last time Trina said anything like that to me. Instead, she left a sticky note on the toaster. As I walked back to my car, I saw another message notification from an unknown number. This time, no cryptic warning. Just a single photo. A screenshot. Of Hunter's Facebook post. Caption, "Day 2 of this city with T, we're not coming up for air anytime soon." The post had only been up for 20 minutes. But it had already been liked by Jess, Trina's best friend, and, of course, Trina's sister, who I now realized had been covering for her. I couldn't look away. I zoomed in on the photo like an idiot, as if some hidden code would appear to tell me this was all just an optical illusion. That she wasn't holding his hand under the table. That she wasn't smiling that wide for him. But it was all right there. The silence wasn't space. It was a smokescreen. And I had willingly stood still inside it, hoping she'd find her way back. What I didn't know was that this so-called week of clarity was never about us. It was a 7-day grace period before she pulled the final thread. You know what's worse than being cheated on? Being told you're overreacting to a truth someone else has already accepted. That's what day 4 taught me. I hadn't told anyone yet. Not friends, not family, not even coworkers. I was still trying to protect her reputation, like some desperate fool standing in front of a house fire, shielding it from the wind with my jacket. I thought if I waited long enough, she'd come back. Apologize. Say she got caught up in something she didn't mean. That this Hunter guy was just a phase. But by day 4, hope had become the thing that mocked me most. I hadn't left the house since that walk in the park. I didn't want to see people. I didn't want their pity. I just sat around watching movies I couldn't finish and eating food I couldn't taste. I kept thinking back to the night Trina once burned spaghetti and cried for 20 minutes because she said she felt like she was failing me. And now she was sipping cocktails in rooftop bars with a guy who looked like he said, bro, unironically. At around 3:40 p.m., I finally got a call. Not from her. It was from Denny, my friend since high school, the kind of guy who uses too many emojis in texts but has a good heart. He said, "Hey man, didn't want to bug you, but are you and Trina okay?" I lied. I said we were figuring some stuff out. That she needed space. That I was giving it to her because I respected her process. He paused, then said, "I only ask because my cousin sent me something weird. Didn't realize until just now that it was your wife in the background." I sat upright. He sent me the video. It wasn't anything scandalous. Just a short clip from a street festival, a musician performing on a corner in another city. The camera pans the crowd and boom, there's Trina. Holding hands with Hunter. Laughing. Leaning on him. Wearing my hoodie. The same hoodie she used to steal off my desk when it got cold. The one I told her she could have forever because it smelled like home, she said. And there she was, in another man's city, holding another man's hand, wearing the thing that once belonged to us. I don't know how long I stared at that screen, but I only snapped out of it when I heard the chime of a message notification from my laptop across the room. I hesitated before checking. I was expecting spam. Maybe a work email. It was neither. It was a shared calendar notification. You see, Trina and I kept a joint Google Calendar. Mostly used for dentist appointments and birthdays. But she must have forgotten we were still connected. There was a new event titled Hunter, Reservation at Vine and Barrel. Anniversary Surprise. Anniversary. Our anniversary was still 3 months away. This was theirs. That tiny heart emoji at the end. It felt like it had claws. I sat in that chair, staring at the event title, realizing she was now making memories with someone else using tools we once used to build ours. And then the worst part happened. I clicked to view the full details, maybe hoping to find a clue she regretted it. A sign it was all surface level. But in the description box, she'd written. Plan, rooftop table. Ask if he remembers the photo booth from October. Mention Paris next year. Paris. The city she told me was her dream honeymoon destination. The trip she said we'd never afford. Suddenly I couldn't breathe. This wasn't a fling. This wasn't some weekend detour. This was a replacement plan. She wasn't just spending time with him. She was reassigning dreams. My dreams. Our dreams. And I was just watching it happen from the passenger seat of my own life. By day 5, I had stopped pretending I was okay. The dishes piled up. My toothbrush sat dry on the sink. I hadn't spoken a full sentence to another human being in almost 3 days. I was no longer avoiding people because I was sad. I was avoiding them because I was ashamed, like everyone could smell the betrayal on me. It's strange how fast your house becomes a stranger's home. I started noticing things Trina left behind, subtle, stupid things, a bobby pin under the rug, one of her earrings in the couch cushion, a grocery list with his name scratched in the margins next to red wine. Her absence wasn't clean. It was messy. Like she'd taken all the oxygen but left behind the smell. I was doing everything I could not to text her. Not to scream into the phone. But something in me had started to shift. It wasn't rage, not yet. It was clarity, the kind that comes after a house fire, when you're sifting through the ashes and finally realizing what burned first. And then, like a sick cosmic joke, it happened. She called. At 6:04 p.m. On the 5th day of total silence. I stared at the screen so long the call went to voicemail. Then she called again. This time, I picked up. Hey, she said softly. I just wanted to check in. Her voice, the same one that once made my world feel stable, now sounded hollow. Forced. Like she was trying to sound calm but hadn't rehearsed enough. I didn't say anything. Not yet. She went on, I know this whole week thing was weird. But I'm doing a lot of thinking. A lot. I think it's helping. Helping what, exactly? Helping her decide if Hunter looked good with a ring on his finger. Still, I didn't bite. Not yet. She paused, waiting for me to fill the silence. I didn't. Then she said, can we talk soon? Maybe tomorrow? I miss your voice. My voice? The one she didn't want to hear for an entire week. I finally said something. My voice cracked a little, I won't lie, but I held it together. I got a calendar invite, Trina. Silence. Not for long. She tried to recover. Oh, that wasn't for you, it was. I cut her off. You used our shared calendar to book a date with someone else. An anniversary. Who does that? Elwood, she said, and I could hear the panic rising in her chest. It's not what you think. Really? I asked. Because what I think is that while I've been respecting your no-contact rule, you've been playing house with a guy who wears sunglasses inside and thinks Paris is a personality. That hit her. I heard her breathe in sharply like I just said something unforgivable. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered. You just didn't care if you did. There was a long pause. She said nothing. I said nothing. And in that silence, a strange calm washed over me. Because for the first time in 5 days, I wasn't just reacting. I was realizing. I realized she didn't feel guilty. Not really. She just didn't like being caught. I ended the call with a single line. Enjoy your dinner, Trina. Make sure he remembers the photo booth. Then I hung up. I didn't cry. Not yet. But something inside me hardened. This wasn't my marriage anymore. It was hers. And she'd already handed it off. I didn't know it at the time, but the next 24 hours would burn every illusion I had left. Because someone else, someone unexpected, was about to send me a video. And in that video, I'd see something I could never unsee. There are moments in life you can't prepare for, no matter how many warnings you get. No matter how many clues slap you across the face or how many strangers drop vague little bombs in your lap. You think you'll be ready when the truth finally shows up in full color. You think you'll be strong. But when the truth came to me, wrapped in a 41-second video clip sent from a burner account with no profile picture, I didn't feel strong. I felt like I was being buried alive by everything I'd refused to face. It happened the next morning, the 6th day of Trina's space to think. I hadn't spoken to her since our call. I had ignored 2 of her texts. One said, "Can we please talk before you assume things?" The other just said, "You know I still love you, right?" I didn't answer either. Instead, I was sipping stale coffee from a mug that said, "World's okayest husband," when my phone buzzed. Unknown number. No text. Just a file attachment. No caption. No explanation. Just the word, "Watch." I hesitated. I wish I could say I didn't open it, but let's be honest, curiosity had turned into compulsion by now. My hands were shaking as I hit play. It looked like a phone video, shot from inside a restaurant. Someone had filmed through a narrow window from across the street. The footage was grainy, unstable, but I recognized the place immediately. It was Vine and Barrel. The place Trina had put on our shared calendar. The place she was supposed to be with him. The camera panned slowly, and there they were. Trina and Hunter. Sitting at a corner table, wine glasses full, her hand resting on top of his like it belonged there. She was laughing, wide and free, the way she hadn't laughed with me in months. It wasn't a guilty laugh. It wasn't forced. It was joyful. Then Hunter leaned in, and the moment that followed knocked the air clean out of my lungs. He kissed her. Not a casual peck. Not an accidental slip. He kissed her like they'd been kissing for years. And she kissed him back like she'd finally come home. That was when I noticed something else. In the middle of the table, right between them, was a little black box. An open ring box. I paused the video. I played it again. Yes, a ring. Not a flashy one. Simple, discreet. I nearly dropped the phone. Was he proposing? Was that what she meant by anniversary? I didn't know what to do. I paced. I cursed. I cried, I won't lie. Big, heaving, humiliated sobs that rattled out of me like I was being exorcised. I felt like I'd just watched my wife cheat on me in 4K and I was the only person in the world who didn't get the script. Then my phone buzzed again. Another message. Same number. She told him you cheated. That you hit her. That you were emotionally unstable. That you threatened her if she ever left. Thought you should know. I just stood there. My ears were ringing. My first reaction wasn't even rage. It was confusion. Disbelief. I reread the message over and over until the words lost meaning. Me. Violent. I had once cried because she left a sad note in my lunchbox as a prank. I had once apologized for putting her towels in the wrong drawer. I had never, in 7 years raised my voice above, mildly pathetic. And yet here she was, painting me as the villain in a story she was writing with someone else. I didn't reply. I didn't even ask who sent it. I knew if I opened that door, I'd fall into a hole too deep to climb out of. Instead, I did something I hadn't done in 6 days. I got dressed. I brushed my teeth. I looked in the mirror and asked myself a question I had avoided all week. What if she wasn't coming back? Not because she didn't love me anymore. But because she had rewritten the entire narrative to make me the monster. And monsters don't get closure. They get erased. I don't remember driving to her sister's house. I only remember the click of the seatbelt and the pressure in my chest, like someone had placed a brick under my ribs. It wasn't anger that drove me, not the kind that makes you punch walls or scream in parking lots. It was something colder. Something quieter. A need for answers that had boiled down to a simple truth: I couldn't keep sitting in silence while someone else rewrote the story of my life. I hadn't told her I was coming. I didn't plan to. But I knew Trina wasn't staying at a hotel like she claimed. The restaurant in the video was just a block from her sister's condo. And when she used to disappear during our arguments, it was always to spend time with family. It was almost poetic, the way lies borrow the masks of people you once trusted. I parked down the street. Her sister's car was there. And so was Trina's. I recognized the dent on the front bumper, the one she said came from tapping a mailbox, though now I wondered if that was a lie too. I walked up the steps. I didn't knock. I didn't have to. The door opened before I could raise my hand, and standing there wasn't Trina. It was her sister, Clarabelle. "Elwood," she said, her face freezing in that awkward expression people make when they've just been caught mid-betrayal. "You shouldn't be here." "Why?" I asked, voice level. "Because the fairy tale's still being rehearsed inside." She didn't answer. I pushed past her. The living room was empty, but I heard voices upstairs. One of them was hers. Soft. Familiar. Unmistakable. I followed the sound. Each step felt like walking through molasses. I reached the guest room door, slightly ajar, and peeked in. She was there. Sitting on the bed. In his lap. Hunter. Laughing. Her fingers twirling the hair at the back of his neck. It was the same way she used to touch me when she was trying to get me to stop overthinking everything. But now there was no hesitation. No guilt. She saw me before he did. Her face dropped, not with shame. With irritation. Like I'd shown up to ruin her vacation. "Elwood," she said sharply. "What are you doing?" "What am I doing?" I repeated. "No. What are you doing, Trina?" Hunter stood up slowly, like he thought I might swing at him. I didn't. I wasn't there for him. He wasn't even the real problem. She was. "I saw the video," I said. "The rooftop dinner. The ring." Her jaw tightened. "Someone sent it to me. They also sent the messages you've been telling him, that I hit you. That I was unstable." Hunter turned slightly toward her. "What's he talking about?" She didn't answer. So I stepped in. "You told him I was abusive? That I was dangerous? Why, Trina?" "Because I loved you too much. Because I didn't fight back when you shut down for weeks at a time." Her expression hardened. Defensive. Cold. "I told him what I had to," she said. "You wouldn't let go, Elwood. You clung to me like I was your last chance at being relevant." That sentence landed like a punch to the throat. "Relevant?" I whispered. She shrugged. "You stopped growing, Elle. You wanted comfort. I wanted life. And instead of saying that, you slandered me." She stood. Arms crossed. "It was easier than fighting with you. You wouldn't understand. You never could." Hunter finally spoke. "Trina, you said he threw things at you." She didn't look at him. That silence was answer enough. His face shifted. It wasn't rage. It wasn't regret. It was realization. The kind that cracks something deep inside. He looked at me, then back at her. "You lied." She stepped toward him. "Hunter, I." But he was already walking away. I stood there. Watching her now realize she was suddenly alone in the room with a man she'd emotionally bulldozed for 7 years. But I didn't gloat. I didn't scream. I just said the one thing I hadn't allowed myself to say until now. "You broke me. And then you handed someone else the broken pieces and told him I did it to myself." Her lips parted, maybe for a rebuttal, maybe for one of her soft-voiced apologies, but I didn't stay to hear it. I turned around and walked out. Not dramatically. Not with fanfare. Just with the quiet dignity of someone who has finally stopped begging to be understood by the person who built their own escape tunnel months ago. I didn't know what came next. But for the first time in a week, I wasn't afraid to find out. 2 weeks have passed since I walked out of that house. And not once have I regretted it. The first morning back home was quiet, but not the suffocating kind. I made coffee in silence, but it didn't feel like a punishment anymore. It felt like peace. I played my own playlist, not hers. I took a walk without checking to see if someone was waiting on me. I stopped checking her Instagram, stopped replaying that rooftop video in my mind. I let the silence be mine. I told my family everything. It was hard, but it was healing. My sister cried. My mom baked a pie. Denny hugged me like I'd just come home from a war. Maybe, in a way, I had. But the real turning point came 3 nights ago. I was at a bookstore, of all places. I was browsing the clearance shelf, because of course I was, when someone tapped my arm. It was the woman from the grocery store. The one who said, "You deserve better." This time, she introduced herself. Her name was Sienna. She wasn't some private investigator or anonymous spy. She used to work with Trina. Had seen the messages. Heard the calls. She didn't owe me anything. But she said, some people need to hear the truth from someone who isn't lying to them. We talked for an hour. About books. About endings. About what it means to be left behind, and what it means to move forward anyway. She gave me her number. I haven't called yet. I'm not ready. But for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel broken. I felt open. The house still feels a little too big. Her stuff is gone. But in its place, I've started filling the shelves with things I actually like. Little things. Dumb things. Things that are mine. And I finally changed the calendar. I deleted our shared events. But I left one reminder up. Just one. You are not the villain in someone else's escape story. So yeah, this wasn't the ending I imagined. But maybe it's the one I needed. Because I didn't lose Trina. I lost the illusion of her. And I found me. Thanks for listening to my story. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below. Have you ever discovered something about someone that completely changed how you saw them? How did you move forward? Let's talk about it. And if this story hit you in any way, like, subscribe, and stick around for more real stories from the heart on Reddit Confessions. Until next time. Take care of yourself. You're not alone.